What's up? What's up? I'm back as promised. I was going to start on this new car right here. It's right there. See it? Okay. So everybody knows now blue car is done. You know, we built that thing as a showpiece. Hey, these are all the parts you can get from us. This is how you can put the car together, all that good stuff, right? And so, yeah. And so it was short-lived, right? We didn't really get to do much with it. Whatever, life goes on. So learned some stuff about this brake thing. There's some good comments in the blue car section, right? About talking about brakes and stuff. I think to add just a tiny bit of content to that is the, we had one of those 26-inch tall Mickey Thompson street runner style front tires on it. Those tires are a little bit heavier than say like bias ply strict drag tire, so like it's going to be harder to skid that tire than it would be one of those little bias ply guys. And I just think some extra attention needs to happen to make sure that when you do go for an aggressive stop, you can make sure that it doesn't skid out of control and crash into a wall at 100 plus miles an hour. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, so I'm going to do the bottom of the car first, and hopefully you guys are into it, and I'll show you what's going on. All right, so starting in the back. So I've done some interesting stuff. Well, at least I think I've done some interesting stuff with the spring configuration on this car. So everybody knows about those like super duper sliders, the drop down units, that allow this guy to just basically drop out of the sky, right? Well, so I've always kind of been of the opinion that the limitation of separation is not because of the slider, it's because of the spring rate. So I did dabble in some off-road stuff, not that much, right? Like just my little Ultra 4 thing that I do. And so I had I've had a run-in with some leaf springs a few times, and what I've noticed about the off-road stuff is that the leaf springs have a lot of radius in them, right? Like they have a bunch of arc. And so the more arc they have, the softer the spring rate can be, because you basically, when it's hanging, right, when it's drooped, the spring rate's super soft, you got this big arc. When the tire actually touches down, it starts to apply the spring very early, right? So think about like these 4-link cars that separate 6-7 inches in some sort of really fast radial configuration, right? Are those guys running 300-pound springs? The obvious answer is no. Like, not only are they not running 300-pound springs, they might even be running like the little primary, little tender spring that goes in there, right? Like a 10-pound spring that just takes up the space to make it so the spring never comes loose. So I remember running into this the first time around when we were doing the Corvette, that I ended up ordering, the springs that came from Mensker were like 110 pounders, right? And so we set the car down, and well, there's no real rear end weight on that in that particular application, and it only squished the springs down like 2 inches. And so I'm just like, yeah, this isn't gonna fly. This isn't gonna work. So we ordered some pack springs, like some off-road style springs, bought some 60-pound springs, I think, and then boom, now we got 5 inches of travel, right? Because the spring is still just, if you got a 50-pound spring, it takes 1 inch of travel, or it takes 50 pounds to squish the spring 1 inch, right? So you can figure out how much weight is actually being supported by the spring, and then figure out what you need for a spring. That's why sometimes when you're like taking the weight of the car sitting on its wheels and tires with the scales, that's not really accurate, because you also have the rear end weight built into that. You really need to subtract the rear end weight. You need the sprung weight more so than the sprung weight and the unsprung weight connected or added together, right? So blah, 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 blah. The more arc the spring has, the softer the spring rate can be and still achieve the same ride height. So what I've done is taken a Chevy 2 spring, so I'm gonna turn this back around now that I've explained all that nonsense. So this is the back half of a stock Chevy 2 spring, right? Like you could see the big wide dealio right there. This is a stock Chevy 2 spring. So I just cut the end off up there and just use the back section of it. So you can see how much radius that spring has in it. So right from here to here, this has got a 9-inch travel Viking shock on it. If you put it all the way to the bottom, it actually limits the travel. It actually will limit the travel. So this rear suspension makes like 9.5 inches of wheel travel with this radius of the spring. So I came in and did one other thing, because I was trying to make some cool stuff happen. Hopefully it works. I took this Calvert spring, the front section. So this is the section that bends, right? So it'll take this Berlin eyelet and it'll pinch it right at that spot. So you can't see it in there because it's behind the rocker pivot, but you get the point. So I did a couple of things with this. Obviously, I got the adjustable box. This bottom hole is pretty close to the stock hole, so I'm 4 inches up from there. So this should be good and aggressive, right? But I did another thing too, where I felt like the short segments are just so violent that it would be beneficial to have a little bit of more length from axle center line here to the eyelet. So what I did was I took the Calvert spring, I re-drilled a hole in it. You can actually see how little is sticking out the end of the housing perch, right? It just made it flush, so I just brought it to the end right there. So I was able to re-drill that hole, and then I actually moved the hole in the perch here a whole bunch as well. So this hole is moved, this hole is moved, and I was able to obtain 2 extra inches of length from the center line here, from this guy to the center line up here, right? So that was the first thing I did. The other thing that I did is, so since I had this spring, since I had this stock spring, I could cut it any length, I decided to lengthen it out too. So it is actually an extra inch back here as well. So the spring eyelet center line to center line on this car is 3 inches longer than stock. So what is cool though is you can see, look how far forward the eyelet is in the slider slot. It goes almost, you could actually kind of barely see a little wear mark right there. That's how much travel that slider uses. So that to me tells me that this thing is going to separate like fantastic. So, well, I hope. I guess we're going to find out, right? So anyway, so then still has the stock frame rail action in it. This car originally just had a relocation kit that we normally, the normal relocation kit. This car had that in the beginning. This is the car that had that we did the 25.3 cage on. This is the very first one. This is back in the day where this is still a Rhodes housing, but I already had built it. It's already been set up. 40 spline axles, 2.5 inch tall perches. Super cool. I got the orange. I'm not doing blue anymore. We're going orange, right? So even my new watch band is orange because that's how we roll, right? So I got the orange going on. Got the 30-30 double bead locks. They're kind of a pain in the ass to mount with these 295s, but got the 295 on the 14-inch wheel. Got clearance sitting at ride height. This thing looks like a normal Chevy 2. Tucking some good amount of rim here. Looks epic. And we got clearance to the front. I know it doesn't look like much, but it is drooped out. So it's as far forward as it's gonna be. I'm likely gonna be running a bit of a suspension limiter on the back because I don't think I need all of the extension travel this thing has to offer. So you can actually see, let me back up. You can see how far out that thing drops. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? Yep, so I mean, you got the 4 adjustment points up here. This got all tied into the number 1. There's the number 1 bar. Since this stuff is so close to inside of the car, like this is the seat bracket right there. There's the 2 Kirky seat brackets. I went ahead, this thing's got a drive shaft enclosure in case bad stuff happens. Hopefully it never does, because the gear vendor basically comes way back here, right? Like it's super duper long. Got an enclosed mid plate. This car, I have enough space in it. So this seems big, right? It seems like it's a really big spot. I can move the motor up and down in this car like 2 inches, no problem. If I so desired. It's probably not going to happen, but I can in fact do it. Actually, I have a mid plate to do that. If I put 275s on it, and then kind of manipulate the rear suspension settings, then I can get this thing down a little bit lower. So, and I could technically put the motor in a little bit higher if I needed to for ground clearance based on the lower ride height. So I don't think it's going to happen because I think we're going to leave it on the 295s. And honestly, I think it'll fit on the 315s, but which would be extra cool, but I guess we'll see. So all the tin work is done. Looking fantastic. All the chassis turned out super bitchin'. This thing's already, it was for sale for a while. Like I'm really actually glad nobody bought it, because after crashing the blue one, it was like, what the heck, man, what are we gonna do? Still got one. So inner frame rails are connected to that leaf spring box, right? So this tire pushing the car forward, pushing through this bolt hole, pushing through that cross member, all this load going up connected right here. Motor's trying to rotate inside of the mid plate. This thing should take some good power. So for right now, it has this 6-liter LS that was in the blue car. It's just okay. I think a big block would be way cooler, but whatever, it is what it is. So it is, you know, just whatever. So I was so happy with with how well the billet control arms survived that crash. I'm definitely not sketched out about these things. The amount of destruction, like tearing the tabs off the frames, all that stuff, like that was crazy how harsh all that was. So I'm super happy that those billet arms work and will hold up because they're beautiful. Got lots of high angle misalignment in there. So like this thing easily stretches out this 6 3/4 inch SN95 strut. So got plenty of travel there, plenty of comfort. Got the strut rods are dialed in. Got the big clevis back here. So it's got 5/8 stem. Nice 3/8 of an inch of material there. Got this trapped press braked kick-ass front bracket there. Pinot rack. You know, it's got a reasonable amount. And so this is the front end. Like this is the front end that we're going to manufacture and put on the website. It's, I haven't gotten there to adding it to the website because just, I never have time. I never make time. Let's go with I never make time. But, everything worked out good. You can see the pivot point from the steering rack, right? So the pivot point is inside of there, lines up with the lower control arm mounts. The height's all set. There's a lot of different Mustang spindles out there, so it's entirely possible that whatever you do if you end up getting one of these, we might have to do some stuff with making the steering where it needs to be because it just is what it is. Yeah, you can see this is cool too. So we originally configured this thing with a big block Chevy in it, and so you could see the motor plate how it's got the bend kick in it. So we could just pop the LS out and put the big block in if we so desired. My goal is to do a drag and drive, and any ET that happens with that would be fine, right? Like I want an 8-second average, but at this point I'm just settling for don't crash the car and actually make it, which would be cool if that can work. And then maybe we'll just stay LS and we'll buy like a badass 427 or something like that. I feel like we could go 7s with a 427. Seems like that should be, you know, totally possible. So yeah, I don't know how long this aluminum gear case is going to last, but it's in there. So see what happens. Those wheels look super duper rad. Oh, we're leaving the patina because it's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to put the blue car hood on this thing since it already has Zeus buttons and rails and all that good shit. And then I'm going to have our one buddy go ahead and do the patina on it. So I've got a bumper for it that we're going to patina, a hood that we're going to patina, and a deck lid and a wing that we're going to patina. So, I mean, look how glorious this thing is. So, yeah, okay. Well, so here's the update. I'm going to lower this thing down and get some more video from the inside because might as well. Okay, actually, here's one more piece. This orange is so legit. So this car has this billet anti-roll bar set up on it, the billet arms, the aluminum arms. Yeah, that orange is awesome. And then there's that orange. Looks even more awesome. So I'm extremely happy with all the anode parts on this thing. So probably need to do the lower control arms and do the camber caster plates orange too. That would be rad. Okay. So looking at this thing from the top side now, you can see the motor plate deal, which is cool. So I don't have to have 2 sets of tabs. I don't have 2 sets of tubes, any of that nonsense. I just have a bent motor plate. Right, and then the alternator on this guy actually mounts down low and right off the block. Like I machined a bracket and it has a little turnbuckle thing or whatever you want to call it on there. So that worked out really great. The firewall is obviously clearanced for moving the motor back some for the big block. We used to have these super cool fittings that threaded in right there. That's obviously not going to work. So we're going to destroy the beautiful paint on the intake manifold. That obviously doesn't match the car anymore. And then put some bungs in right there, some 180s off the fuel rails, Don't mind those disgusting coils. Just was trying to see if that bracket was going to be good, which it is. Camber caster plates, looking money. Had a little discrepancy with some of the sizing on those at one point in time, but now we've got it really squared away. We put in that extra tube right there. There's a tube inside the car that connects to the A-pillar that matches up. So I was trying to like really rigid this thing up the best I can. Those inner frame rails connect in on the back side of the lower, and then that tube connects in, goes to the A-pillar, and then it's still connected to the dash. These things come from Chris Alston's. They're awesome for holding the fenders on. They're just really nice, and you can actually lean on the fender. Everybody leans on fenders, right? So if you don't have these things in there, it just like tries to fold off the side. The steering down in there, nice and hidden. Got a little bulkhead through the firewall. You see that this car is just like actually in pretty good shape. So this is not all the way down. It'll go down like another, I think it goes down another inch, but it looks dope. Like that looks legit with that 295 on there. Boys knocked out the little firewall piece, so that's all sealed off. You can see we raised up the transmission tunnel just that little bit, or the drive shaft tunnel. That made a big difference for being able to make the car lower. It's got adjustable slider mount brackets, so basically this link, you just I can just cut a longer link if I want to move that. The anti-roll bar is tucked away right there in the trunk. The shock holes go through right there. We got the fuel tank and all that stuff fits in here. Got the full size, pretty good size. If I say full size, but it's not a full size wheel tub. It still has quarter windows. So, which will drastically limit how low this car will go, but that's okay because it's on leaf springs, so it's not going to be insanely low. What else do we got here to look at? I put got a regular steering column still, and then I machined these super cool little brackets. This is a double swinging pedal assembly from Willwood, so I can put a clutch in it. I have this dream that I've always had this dream since I was a little kid. Not really a little kid. Since I was 18 or 19. I want a Lenco. I want a Lenco really bad. So I went ahead and put a clutch pedal in it. I did that double swinging thingy so I could put a clutch in it. Got tilt steering still, which is a must. I think this steering column bracket is actually super rad. So, because remember, if you have a steering column with the 7-pin GM connector, it's incredibly easy to hook this up, right? From the brake lights and the turn signals and all that stuff. So I machined these two clamps. That mounting bracket right there is just a press brake piece of 10 gauge. Fits on there, and it's extremely rigid. Like, it's awesome. The tin, the trans tunnel and stuff, that all is removable. Doors close nice. You can tell that there's absolutely no rubber in it, but that's quite all right. Yeah, this car is awesome. I'm actually pretty excited. We didn't get to play with the blue one much, so like I'm ready to have a car again. I've been racing the dragster, but there's still just something about one of these. I love these cars. Oh, this one's not going to open. Let's not do that. That fender is needs some love. And that door, that is an entire sheet of Bondo right there. Somebody got heavy-handed with that. Think there's any water inside of it? Chrome glove box door. Got the passenger seat. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to say. I feel like this is a pretty cool update video. You can kind of see that steering column stuff a little better right there. Gas pedal. It'd be super cool. The Lenco would be next level in this thing. I think it has to have a clutch too. I don't know about that. I don't know about a drive, like a converter drive. I think it'd be cooler if it had a clutch. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Versailles going to go ahead and paint the inside of this thing because it's just going to rust. It's already got a lot of surface rust on it, more than I would like. And so, yeah, he's going to tune that up. So just look at that wheel one more time. Yeah, that's cool. So, appreciate you guys. And I don't know. I don't feel like there's anything else to report on this. They got the got everything covered, I think. So I guess the next video I take will be of the inside will be painted. We got to mount turbos on this thing, and then I have a bet with Jesse Collier that that we're going to be able to take this thing to LS Fest. So yeah, he's going to lose, that's for sure. So until next time, guys, I'll catch you then.